point out to people, I live in the capital of the previous empire, the British Empire, and I could see every day the damage that being an imperial state caused to Britain. I mean, at the time, it did provide enormous benefits, but those benefits increasingly became concentrated in an ever smaller group of people. The rest of the people began to bear the burdens. And one effect of being an imperial state was that because Britain essentially traded with its empire and made sure that the parts of its empire didn't develop economically, the British economy didn't develop. So when I was doing all that industrial work that I was talking about in the 1980s, I found to my astonishment that a lot of British industry was an industrial museum. You could find machine tools that dated from the Edwardian era. And I am not exaggerating about this. This is in the 1980s, mind. So, empire is a very bad thing for most people. Nobody discusses this as far as I can see. I mean, a few people do. I mean, on our media channels do. But yes, most people don't talk about this. They don't understand the economics of empire and its enormous burdens.
Yes, that is exactly right. I think I would call it the empires do two things. They create misery at home and mayhem abroad. Always have done. And even from 2,000 years time distance, what do we know about the Roman Empire? We see the ruins of the Roman Empire, and they seem very impressive. But Rome, as the imperial city, was absolutely surrounded by slums. People were living in misery, and the processes that we see today in Britain and the United States, where the cities are falling apart, where people are sleeping in the streets or falling over with drug overdoses in the streets, and everything seems to be falling apart, is exactly the kind of developments that we had in the Roman Empire, that we had during the 12th and 13th centuries Lombard banking crisis in Italian cities, that we had during the Victorian era of the British Empire, and that we see today again across Europe, Britain, and the United States, and even parts of Canada. Canada is a very resource-rich country, but even there you could see the symptoms of this sickness. And then we talked about our leadership being out of ideas and very, very angry about losing. But this is the type of leadership that the empire brings to the front. They are selected that way, and just in the last few years, you could observe specific examples of this. Not only are all our prime ministers and presidents and foreign ministers and diplomats absolutely underqualified people, to put it politely, but you see, we just saw a few days ago a short video of the chairman of the President Joe Biden's Council of Economic Advisors, Jared Bernstein, give a short speech about how he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand the economic process. And it was absolutely staggering. And then a Bank of International Settlements at the beginning of this month had some kind of an online innovation summit. And of course, they invited Yuval Noah Harari, who managed to slip in the sentence that it is absolutely right for the governments to create more and more money to build more and more trust. I mean, it's absolutely surreal. It's absolutely surreal. And then the people who are competent are being drawn out of this system. And I will never forget at the outset of the crisis in Ukraine, there was before the war in January 2022, there was German Admiral Kai-Joachim Schonbach, who was at a summit in India. And he said, the low-cost solution to this process, to this problem in Ukraine, is to simply respect Russia's security concern and to acknowledge them and to work with them to find a common solution. Well, he was an admiral of the German Navy, so a career military man with certain competencies and certain reputation. That statement there ended his career that day. he tried to backpedal, to distance it. He didn't mean that, but it was over. And so who comes to in his place? People who are, who are going to be willing to take the country to war, and people who are not worried about the nuances. And this is why I say that we shouldn't underestimate the West's capability to sabotage development and to sacrifice absolutely their whole entire countries. You said Americans are not interested in going to war against China, and Europeans are not interested in going to war against Russia. But the same was true for Ukraine 10 years ago, and the same was true for Ukraine even 2 years ago. Ukrainians didn't want war with Russia, but they got it anyway. So the very same way that the establishment managed to coerce Ukraine, the whole society, to go to war against Russia, is the danger that we face ourselves. Because now that they lost in Ukraine, they will try to use Poland, Germany, France, Italy, whoever they can, to pull the same things off. And so I think that for us in the West, again, it's time to actively do what we can to defend the peace and to say no to these developments.